Yes, we are back. I bet you thought that we wouldn't be, but we are. This is season three of them of Cubfidential. I'm the producer, Denzel Snipes, and we have got a loaded show. Spring training is over with. Opening day has come and gone. The opening series have come and gone. So let's get right down to some Cubs baseball. Now, the Cubs managed to somehow get to 80 wins last season. I think it's like 83. Finished a game and a half out of the playoffs. No one saw that coming, right? So I think this year we got a new manager, kind of made some moves here and there, expecting a little bit more out of the Cubs. But you know what? Let's go ahead and bring our host in here, the one and only. He was the Brooklyn Bad Boy, now he's the Chicago Crusader, the king of the Northside, JB Ellis.
What's going on, Jay? So, like the Cubs, we didn't start on opening day. They waited a couple of games before they got a win. So we're going to start our season 3 with the Cubs being 3-2 right now. They have a little rain right now. White Sox, they're not playing today. They decided to cancel the game. The Cubs, we're still going to try and play. I think the game just started a couple of seconds ago. So I guess they're not watching us, which what a shame because they may learn something. But a lot of new stuff happening. We got new people. The Cubs got new people, a new manager. We got some old people. We got some new people. Got a lot of stuff going on. But let's start. Let's go back to the Cubs Ranger series. We got Jason, who's new. He's going to come on to talk a little bit about this. What's going on, Jay?
What's going on, JB? How you doing?
Good. So, welcome to the show. Excited to have you on here.
Thank you.
So
Excited to be here.
Let's talk about the trip down to Texas to start the season. The Cubs started out opening day with a loss 4-3 to the world champions. Looked like they had them a couple of times in the game where you thought they were going to win the opener. And then before you knew it, in extras, the game was over and Texas ended up winning in 10. What were your thoughts on the opening night?
Everything's big in Texas, obviously, I mean, losing 2 out of the 3 in the series, obviously the Cubs didn't show up very well. Big opening night, ring ceremony. So everybody was hyped down there in Texas. They scored in the series. They scored 14 runs. I think, going back home, it helped them a lot. So, but yeah, I mean, Texas got a great team, man. They got a team full of all-stars. You got Seager, Simeon. I can't even think of the guy's name in the outfield. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're a good team.
Yeah, definitely.
That first game was tough. They went to extras. They lost 4-3. They used 7 pitchers, which is always tough to do because then you're running through pitchers for the next night. But what did you see in the opening night that made you excited about the season?
Well, I mean, look, they've got a good young core of players. I mean, they've got a good defense, especially up the middle with Horner and Swanson, Suzuki. He played Bellinger in center once in a while. So I think they've got, like you said, I think they got a mixture of young and old players. And the older players obviously bring a little bit more experience to the team, especially just on the bench, coming in and out of the games and whoever may start for, the next day or whatever. So, I mean, honestly, when Steele got hurt, I was like, oh man, there goes the season, that was devastating. So, and he's going to be out, whole month of April, come back in May. So, we'll see how that goes, how that transitions for him. And, so.
And then, game 2, Hendricks, less than 4 innings, 5 earned runs.
Yeah.
A blowout 11-2. What was your thoughts on his start to the season?
Yeah. To me, honestly, Hendricks didn't look that great. And I don't know if it's just, coming off the injury from last year. I know he likes to call his own game. But yeah, he really didn't look that great. Start of the year, you got I would say like 5-6 good innings, So, and it just seemed like he got rocked. So
Yeah, no, well, not a great way to start the season.
no,
What was your thoughts of the bullpen during that series?
you know what? I got to be honest with you. I really didn't catch too much of the series, the opening series. Um, but you know that's the thing. I think the Cubs pitching is going to be iffy this year. You know, I know they moved Smiley to the bullpen. I think that'll be a little bit of a benefit with him coming out of there. So you know, we'll see as the season progresses. But the pitching does worry me. I don't think the offense worries me too much. I think they could score runs. Obviously, you know, you see, you know, in the Colorado series, you know, but
Right.
yeah, I'm not too worried about run producing. You know, I'm worried more about the pitching. And like you said, you know, using 7 guys out of the bullpen, you know, that's a rough start.
And who were you most impressed with offensively on the Cubs so far?
Offensively, so far, I'm impressed with Suzuki and Morel. To be honest with you, Suzuki's been on fire since spring training, and Morel, he's just, you know, I think he's a young, up and coming player. He likes to swing at the first pitch. Um, you know, he's got 2 home runs on the season so far. So, yeah, yeah, Morel and Suzuki, they're impressing me so far. You know, so we'll see how that progresses. You know, the spring training thing. You know, I kind of seem to think like when guys are hot in spring training, they kind of cool off. You know, but Suzuki's been on fire. So
We appreciate it, Jay. It was a pleasure having you. We'll see you next week. You were great, man. See?
thanks, man.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, appreciate it, JB.
All right. Thanks, man. Talk to you later.
All right, bud.
All right. So next, we're going to talk a little Dodgers Cubs coming up this weekend. Should be interesting. We're going to bring in Botkins, who, you know, he's explosive as it is. But, you know, the Dodgers, I mean, you know, they're pretty explosive. I mean, the Cubs are right now perfect at home. They're 3-2. They got the last game against Colorado, but this isn't Colorado we're talking about. We're talking about the Dodgers. You know, they have so much money. They're decided Ohtani, and Ohtani bet that he was going to sign with the Dodgers. I heard, but
yeah,
anyway.
he's probably betting that the Dodgers are probably going to take this series 2 out of 3 from the Cubs, because I probably would too. I mean, the Dodgers lineup, especially the top 4 or 5 guys in that lineup, are absolutely you know, killers. They've scored 5 runs in their first 8 games, which is unheard of. So they're just absolutely killers. They're going to be tough to beat, but this will be a good sense. I mean, it's early on in the season, so let's not try to get too crazy. I'm going to try not to get too crazy, JB, too up and down. You know how I like to be, but I'm trying to keep my emotions in check just through this first 2 weeks or so. It's going to be a good tell how good the Cubs are going to be, because we're literally legit going up against a team that many people are picking to win the World Series, go to the World Series. And the Cubs, a lot of people are picking us to win the division, but, you know, maybe not do much in the playoffs. But if we're going to make the playoffs, we got to, we got to take a good look at these teams in the regular season, because if we want to make some noise, even in regular season or even the postseason, we got the Dodgers. We got to handle the Dodgers and compete. Can we compete with them? You know, you may not win the series, but can we compete with them in this upcoming series over the weekend?
See, what I remember from last year, the biggest problem the Cubs had and what made them not a playoff team, because they were pretty close when all was said and done, was playing against bad teams, not winning 2 out of 3. You know, they'd go up against teams that they should win 2 out of 3 or sweep, and they get lucky to win a game in the series. You know, here they have Colorado in, and they've already done it. They took 2 out of 3 with the 3rd game going on now. So they did their job this series. Granted, Texas is the world champions. You win 1 out of 3, that's a win. You're not supposed to win those series. You're supposed to be competitive.
We should have won the first. We should have won opening day, right? We're all jacked up. We're hyped up. I'm excited. It's a new season, JB. I'm smelling it. We're beating the defending champions and Albert Alizé. Maybe it's karma because of the how we got the lead. With the bat situation where the tip bat and the ball rolled and they didn't call it a foul tip. So maybe it was karma come back to get us as Alizé blown save first day. You're like, oh, well, this is going to be a long season if this is how we're doing day one. But you felt good. We should have took 2 out of 3 from the defending champs. But nonetheless, but I felt good about it.
Yeah. And like I said, definitely getting 1 out of 3, though, that's what you're supposed to do against the better teams. And you can live with that. Just don't get swept. Take the 1 game. It's not horrible. Then you play a lesser team like the Rockies on the way back, and especially at home, you go out, you win the first 2 games, now you won that series, so you're good. Now you're back to you're going to play a tough team with the Dodgers. So is your thought taking 1 out of 3, 2 out of 3?
I'm looking at the pitching matchups right now. Kyle Hendricks did not look good his first start out, right? And he's going up against Miller on Friday. Saturday, I'm looking at it here. We got Wicks on the mound versus Yamamoto. Yamamoto did not look good in his upstart, so I think maybe we could sneak one there on Saturday, and then Sunday. You got our guy, our Japanese pitcher. I'm going to butcher his name, Imanga versus Stone. And the way Imanga pitched in his first start, you got to like it. So, I mean, we're kind of getting some of their, it just depends on how Yamamoto pitches for the Dodgers on Saturday, whether or not we can escape that game. If we can get that game, I feel comfortable going into the game with Imanga pitching the way he pitched the other day against the Dodgers or against the Rockies. So maybe we can escape. If we can get 2 out of 3, boy, your boy's going to be hyped come next week.
Yeah, I agree with you. If they could get 2 out of 3, that's phenomenal. What's the key to stopping the Dodger offense? I mean, you got Betts, you got Ohtani, you got everybody.
Pray. I mean, their lineup is as good as anybody, top to bottom. Will Smith's even the catcher's pretty good. One of a really good catcher. Ohtani, Freeman, Betts. You just named it. Those guys alone. Just hold them, minimize. They're going to get hits. They're going to probably hit a home run or 2. Just minimize the damage. Don't let them put up crooked numbers. Don't let them keep the line moving. Get 2 outs. If you give up a solo home run or a double, that's okay. Just don't let them keep the line moving. Don't let the other guys, the non-Otanis, the non-Freemans, don't let them get involved in the offense. Because Freeman, Ohtani, Betts, they're probably going to get there. So they're going to hit the ball. They're too good of a hitters not to, right? But don't let their 7, 8, 9 guys beat you. That's going to be the key to beating them.
So before I let you go, and I know you're going to be back later on in a couple of minutes, you got an MMA show coming up?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So tell people where they can find it.
Yeah, the Bodkin Show on the YouTube, 8 o'clock Central, Head Kicks and Haymakers. It's one of the many shows I do. It's all MMA related. I just had on Sunday UFC cut man Brad Tate joined me on a Sunday nice conversation. So please check that one out. That was a lot of fun. Then tonight we're just to talk a little bit about the card on this past weekend and some fights announced and things like that. Then tomorrow night we're on the Let's Talk Sports show. We are doing our preview of WrestleMania, baby. So can't wait to do that. So yeah.
Well, Denzel and Jacob do have a wrestling show on Monday nights.
Jacob's been too scared to ask me to come on because he runs from me everywhere I go. He's never invited me to the door because he doesn't want the champ. He wants the lot. He's a spotlight junkie, and then when somebody comes on, it's got a little bigger spotlight, little bigger star. He doesn't want them on the show. So I've never been formally asked to come on the show. I offered when they told me, hey, we're going to do a wrestling show. I said, hey, man, I'd love to come on and talk wrestling. But I never got the offer, JB. Never got the offer.
Wow, we're going to have to try and make this happen. That's what I think. But we'll see you in just a few minutes. And don't forget, 8 o'clock, the Bakken Show, MMA, all about it. But thanks, Bakkens. We'll talk to you in a few. All right, so next, we got the one and only, the pundit himself, Mr. Jacob Christner.
What's going on tonight?
Been a long time, man. How you been?
Not bad, not bad. By the way, Bodkins, it's Imanaga. You went 0 for however much Chris Bryant is for 0 this year so far.
Wow. Chris Bryant.
You went 0 for Chris Bryant with that name.
Remember when everyone was upset that they traded him?
Well, you know something? The big thing about it was the fact that he took the money, and then there's also the thought process of that. There's the thought process of that stadium. You know, you could probably hit 40, 50 homers. I know that's what's in his head. But then, you know, it's just one of those injuries hit, and, you know, and it's like by itself, and then you're still got to hit on the road 81 times. He just faded.
Yeah, so let's forget about past. We're going to talk about this Cubs for you.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Shota Imanaga. 6 innings pitched, 9 strikeouts in his debut versus the Rockies. Speaking of the Rockies, what's your thoughts on Imanaga, and what do you see for him for his future?
Well, you know something? I love the ball. I love the movement on his ball, and just the watching and he's fun to watch. The big thing about it was the fact I was really, really, really hoping for a because the thing is the one thing about Craig Counsell, he'll keep you in the game when there's a no-hitter, no matter the pitches. So I was hoping he'd go all the way, because he was at about 6 1/3, 6 2/3 when they, or 5 2/3, excuse me, at a no-hitter, and they gave him a couple hits, and that was it. But it's like I was hoping, just the way he was pitching, just the way it was going, I was hoping he'd go all the way, because unlike Ross, he'll give you all the way to the end. He'll give you until it's over to do that. And the big thing about it was I knew this was a different manager, so I had a little idea about it. I had a little idea that he's going to have a lot of pitches with it, because he threw a lot of balls. So there was extra 70, 80 pitches by that time all the way. And maybe not, but he looked great.
Just before we go on, a couple of shout-outs. What's up, Christopher Cole? The Back It Up Binge podcast. And our man, Will the Thrill. What's going on, everybody? How you guys doing?
What's up, Will?
Thanks for tuning in. So, what do you see of Imanaga as the season progresses? I mean, his first start here to start the season, coming from Japan, what do you see out of him?
Well, he might take that. One of the things I see about it is the fact, after seeing Hendricks Hendricks has just struggled with the control. Here's the thing, he had 2 walks, but he had a lot of balls, which you got to remember. This is what was happening after his surgery last year. The whole situation with that is the fact that he used to be able to place it perfectly enough to have 1 or 2 pitches, maybe 3 pitches. Now he's getting too many of them. So now you're going to either get a really good game, or you're going to get, this is what I'm saying, you're going to get a really good game, or you're going to get what you had. And that was the big problem. That was the big problem with that. Imanaga probably could take his spot. I'm talking about the 2. It probably moves him to 4 or 5. It probably moves, which is not a bad spot for Hendricks, because the 4 or 5 spot usually doesn't have those kind of credentials.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, to have him as a fourth or 5th starter, that elevates the back of the rotation. That's phenomenal.
Well, the thing is, he could get himself high. You get 4th or 5th, and you got to remember, he was a Game 7 World Series guy. He's going to have 100 wins this year. He's going to have his 100th win. So you got to you don't get number 5s or number 4s with 100 wins. So it would be really nice.
I agree. So let's go outside of Wrigley.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a guy I'm not a fan of, who's a phenomenal player. See, that's the one great thing. I don't have to be a fan of somebody. They can be phenomenal, and I'll admit they're phenomenal, but I still don't have to be a fan of them. Bryce Harper. 3 home runs, including a grand slam, and the Phillies won 9-4. Our producer came up with a great question. Is this the beginning of the Phillies revenge tour?
I don't know, because you got to remember, he started like 0 for 12 before he got all that. So the big thing about it is he'll have a decent April, get blazing hot in May and June. July will be because it's going to get hotter. And then August and September. So he'll have his 312. He'll have his 312, probably 45 homers.
Does anyone like Bryce Harper outside of Philadelphia?
Right. Bill Duffy didn't like him when he was in Washington, so he's not
I mean, well,
exceptionally
yeah,
likable.
right
He's really
now.
good.
He's phenomenal. Like I said, listen, I didn't like Larry Bird. I didn't like Michael Jordan. I'll admit they're great players. I don't like LeBron James. Great player. You know, I'm okay with admitting people are great if I don't like them, but that's not the issue. But, you know, I just something
Well,
about Bryce
Garrett Cole's
Harper.
great, and you don't like him.
Garrett Cole is a different type of situation. Garrett Cole has no class. And it goes back to his Astros days.
Right.
When he was on Houston and his team lost in the playoffs, he sat at the press conference, took off his Houston hat, and put on a different hat. There was no reason for that. You're still a member of the team. Even if you're a free agent the next day, you're still a member of the Astros that night.
Yeah.
You represent your team. So if you're
That's
not a
true.
team player and you have no class, you're a piece of garbage. And that's why Garrett Cole, he could go 100 wins this year, throw no hitters throughout the rest of the season. I will never like him. There's not enough he can do. He has to be perfect. And $40 million a year for a pitcher, I expect a no-hitter on every time. That's me. And especially if his name's Garrett Cole, I expect that.
Even if he's 16-4 last year.
Still 4 losses. He should have won those 4 games. $40 million. I'm not paying a guy to play every 5 days to lose 4 games. That's not acceptable.
You go be a GM, man. You go be a GM.
Listen, we have some GMs in the works. Don't worry about it. We'll talk about that another time. But
You bet.
all right. So we're going to bring back something we haven't done in ages for the people out there. And this is the long-awaited Battle Royale. I mean, this is like the heavyweight thriller in Manila. It's insane. I can't even speak. It's so insane.
Well,
We've been
let me tell
talking
you
about this
Bodkins.
behind the scenes.
Well, let me tell you this, Bodkins. You're going to butcher this up like you butchered Imagas. I mean,
Hey, that's okay. Hey, I'm a realist. Hey, that's one thing, Jacob. I know who I am. I'm a country bumpkin from Missouri who graduated a class of 31 and I was 30, baby. I'm not supposed to be able to pronounce guys' names like that. So you know what? You can hate on the way I pronounce names. I know who I am. I know I ain't going to be able to say his name. But you know what? Appreciate his greatness. He was great on the other day. I'll learn his name eventually. It'll come to me. But you know what? We all knew who I was talking about.
You sound like you were saying Umanga from William Regal.
Hey, well, might have been.
Yep.
So here we go. In one quarter, we got the pundit, Jacob Christner. And in the other corner, the guy that only goes by one name. He doesn't need a second name. We got Bodkins. So the confrontation question. Should the Cubs have let Marcus Stroman walk, or should they let Drew Smiley go instead? So we're going to start with Bodkins.
Man, I've really pondered this. I did like Marcus Stroman. I was surprised they didn't bring him back. Imagine Marcus Stroman in this rotation, especially with Kyle Hendricks struggling and in the back end of his career. Stroman proved that he probably should have. But Smiley, they're not putting Smiley in the rotation, so that's a nice, as long as he doesn't stay in the rotation, ends in the back in the bullpen, can eat up some innings. Did even save, I think he even almost saved the game against the Rockets the other day. Put him in long situations. As long as he's not a starter, I'm okay with it. But I do feel like they should have offered Stroman a contract, should have brought him back. I'm not too sure how much the Yankees are paying him, so I don't know. I can't remember what that price tag was. If not, I do think I'm okay with the way things ended up, but I do feel like Stroman probably should have stayed just because him being another rotation piece, because we do have some question marks with some of these younger guys in Wicks and a couple others. So Stroman just would have been a nice veteran piece to back up Steele, Imanga, and Hendricks, and then Stroman. So I feel like that would have felt more comfortable with depth in our starting rotation, because right now, if one of these guys gets hurt, a la Justin Steele, we're kind of hurting. Luckily, it's April, so I'm not going to try to worry about too much about Justin Steele. So, but yeah.
All right, that was Bodkins. Next, here we go. It's the pundit. Can he match the heat?
Not only am I going to match the heat, he is Kyle Hendricks, and I'm Imanaga. Imanaga. Anyway, So, as far as letting Strowman walk, yes, I believe so. I truly, truly believe it. The biggest thing about Strowman is the fact, and I'm going to say this in such a different way. He is online a lot more than a lot of athletes are. He answers you back. He even answered me back a few times. So it's like he's on there, which means his mind, when things are going well, he's pitching well, he's everything, which means if he's not pitching well, he's going to let all of the naysayers get to him, and he's not going to be the same. So personally, to me, I'd rather him be, I mean, good luck to him. It's me with Caleb Williams. Go somewhere. Well, forget Caleb. I can't stand him. Justin Fields. Wish you well. You know, I like you, but you're done. You know, and it's like, and that's the same both of Strowman. And I see what Smiley does. I remember I like a placement pitcher anyway. I like to see where he could go in that position. Remember what I said earlier about who I thought in a 4 or 5? Those two in the position player, stuff like that, I would not, or in the placement pitcher type, I would not mind. So I don't mind Smiley, and it's like, personally to me, Strowman can go be successful somewhere else.
All right. So as usual, I'm going to turn it to our producer to pick the winner, Botkins or Jacob, the pundit.
Once again, and it feels like a long time since this happened. Like, I don't think we had this go down since, I think it's early season 2. I think when Botkins first came on. Excellent points all around the board. Me personally, and see, I wish Tyler was on because he can't stand Smiley. So this really was, should have been his confrontation. But again, another tough one. I have to. It's close. I think Botkins got this one. I do agree that it's a little early to tell and everything. Me personally, I thought that they should have kept Strowman in the wake of Steele's injury. He could have kind of, cleaned up the slack a little bit. But you also do have Imanaga, which Jacob alluded to, and that's always an asset. And Jacob, excellent job covering Imanaga's first outing. And from the way he looks like a suitable replacement, but a great confrontation, and here's some many more.
So I don't know if you noticed, if you look down, you see Botkins has the belt already. He's got the confrontation belt. I don't know how we got it there. I didn't know we had a belt, but he's got it.
Yep, I think he stole it from Seth Rollins himself.
All right, so we got one more segment before we go. Cub or dud. Let's bring the whole panel on, and we'll go around the horn. We'll start with Jason. So Cub or dud. Steele rebound after the injury right to where he left off.
I don't know. That's going to be rough. I'm going to say dud.
Okay.
Dud. Yeah.
Botkins.
If he goes to Iowa and does some like 1 or 2 starts, he'll come back and prove he's the guy. He already proved in that just 7 innings that he proved he's picking up right where he left off last year. So he's a Cub. It's a Cub.
Jacob.
Say the question one more time.
So Cub or dud. Justin Steele will return and pick up right where he left off after the injury.
Yeah, he'll have 1 or 2. He'll have 1 or 2 mid to rough starts, and then it'll get warmer. Remember this: we're starting in April, where it gets a little cooler. You get all that stuff, all that kind of thing. He'll warm up. He'll be fine. Cub.
All right. So the only segment that we didn't have this week, and it's my favorite segment, the Hot Cub Time Machine. Because how many Cub puns can you have? There's not enough if you're doing a show called Cubfidential. You need more Cub puns. But we'll be back next Wednesday, 7 o'clock Central. Hopefully we'll see what happens with the Dodger series. That's going to be interesting. Botkins says 1 or 2 wins possibly. Let's hope for 2. Maybe we'll get lucky, get a sweep. Botkins holds the season right now, the series lead 1-0 in confrontation. Going to see if the pundit can come back and get a win somewhere this season. I don't know. Jason, welcome to the show, but we'll see you guys next week. It was a pleasure. Jay, take us out of here. Great job, guys.